All right, hello everybody. I'm Brian, and this is Amy News and Conversation. I'm here today with Eric Franca. He is the Assistant Director at DISCA, and we're going to explain what DISCA is in a second, because you probably recognize Eric and say, hey, that's a different title. So Eric, break that down for me. What is DISCA? It's still part of CDRH?
Yeah, let's hit the acronyms. So it's the Division of Standards and Conformity Assessment. And so that may sound different from what you're used to hearing because we just recently reorged in OST, and I'm not breaking that one down because I get it wrong every time. But so the Division of Standards and Conformity Assessment, and that's formerly SCAP, Standards and Conformity Assessment Program. So upgraded to a division, pretty much the same program, doing the same thing you're used to us doing. So that more or less breaks it down. And Assistant Director of DISCA, I'm taking charge of the Conformity Assessment Program side of the house. So encapsulating that is the ASCA program. So that's the Accreditation Scheme for Conformity Assessment.
And I should say our members are probably very excited about this too, since standards development is very near and dear to Amy's heart. Mm-hmm. That just seems to show to us that, hey, you know, FDA is taking this seriously too, and we just love to see that. But yeah, let's talk about ASCA, because I know we have a whole bunch of updates today during AAMI Nexus, which is the inaugural AAMI Nexus conference, FDA AAMI Nexus conference. We just had a pre-symposium about ASCA. So let's break down that acronym. And you could tell me a little bit about ASCA and just elevator pitch it. Why would I want to be part of ASCA in the first place?
ASCA, the Accreditation Scheme for Conformity Assessment Program. So the ASCA program is something we've been building for years now. Recently became a permanent program. Why would you want to be part of the program? It is a way for us to streamline the conformity assessment aspects of pre-market review. So when a manufacturer goes to an ASCA accredited test lab, they can trust that that test lab is going to do the methodology properly. They're going to generate a report in addition to whatever they normally get. They're going to get an ASCA summary test report, and submit just that and a declaration of conformity to FDA. And then our pre-market reviewers will have a much easier time reviewing that document. So it is basically the information that we need to know, not information we may misconstrue or want to know. It should just be, what do we need to know? And from that review, it should be much quicker for us to get through that submission. So ideally, that means we can go through those summary test reports very quickly, generate less deficiencies. There still may be deficiencies that are technical in nature just because it's all technical going into the summary test report. But the output should be a quicker conformity assessment review and less deficiencies. So that's what we're trying to drive forward, and consistency as well. So
if I'm interpreting this right, it's essentially almost standardizing how the forms that you're seeing are presented to you. So every time you should be looking at basically the same thing. And you'll know right away, oh, you know, this will pass, this will not pass, that kind of deal.
Yeah, to provide an example from like basic safety and essential performance, which is one aspect of the ASCA program currently. You know, if you get the base standard 60601-1, maybe a collateral like EMC testing -1-2, and then maybe a particular -2- whatever, you could end up with like 400 pages of documents. And those are standardized in that there is a scheme attacking that, the CB scheme. But if you get ASCA, an ASCA summary test report, those 400 pages can become 20 pages. And those 20 pages can be walked through much more quickly. And also we avoid unnecessary questions or unnecessary content about the methodology, because we trust that the methods were implemented properly by the test labs who we have confidence in. So there shouldn't be questions about the test setup in electromagnetic compatibility. You know, this antenna is askew the wrong way, and now we have a whole question. We're asking you to redo your testing. We don't want that because we trust that lab did it properly. We just want to see the results. We want to walk through them quickly, and we don't want to ask you questions about it unless we really have to. And that's where we're kind of driving consistency and streamlining our review for that aspect to make sure we get safe devices on the market efficiently.
Yeah, I mean, these are all very positive buzzwords, efficiency, streamlining, et cetera. But how has the reception of the ASCA program been? Are people happy with it?
Yeah, so we've heard really positive feedback from all the stakeholders. So test labs, they said they've had a pretty good experience with manufacturers in the program. The manufacturers that have leveraged the program so far have had a really good experience. And generally what we've been seeing is exactly how we expect it to work. Review staff have an easier time with the summary reports. They generate less deficiencies in a shorter period of time because you just have less to review and your eyes don't glaze over as you walk through 400 pages of documents or however many. If you include biocompatibility, it can be even more. And you incorporate extra experts into your review, which brings extra perspectives, extra critical eyes, and experts in that specific area can generate very difficult questions, as manufacturers for sure are aware. So having them on board with the content of the summary test report means we're comfortable with the content in there. If everything went well, we just move past it. It's okay. If something went wrong, we just want to understand what went wrong, why it went wrong, and why it's okay. Then we can move past it. Or if there are technical problems or regulatory problems with that, then we can ask that question. But that's essentially what we're trying to do.
That seems so simple to me, but you just soldiered through a 3-hour symposium dedicated to this program. So I assume that there also must still be some misconceptions or at least questions that people have about this. Can you tell me some of those?
Sure. So one we get pretty frequently, which surprises me, is this going to be mandatory going forward? DISCA, the use of recognized standards and CDRH is voluntary. We do greatly encourage people to use the recognized standards and declare conformity to those standards and to use ASCA. But it is inherently a voluntary program, just by way our regs are set up. It's not going to be mandatory. It will be something that will be around, but voluntary to use. Another misconception might be that, or a question we get frequently is, how much time will be shaved off of my total time to decision for a pre-market submission? Right. We are hoping to see trends of driving a lower total time to decision, but really what the ASCA program is trying to deliver is less deficiencies, less difficult questions that can be addressed in a more straightforward way. So to avoid time and money that's spent and anxiety that is geared towards, you've got a whole list of questions from FDA. We want less of those questions on your plate. So that's less time for you to deal with, less money to spend if you have to redo your testing. Hopefully we can avoid all of that by use of trusted test labs that we have confidence in and streamlined reporting that we don't stumble across something that raises an eyebrow and now we ask a question when maybe we don't have to ask if we have a streamlined reporting format like the ASCA summary test report.
Oh, that makes sense. And I imagine it also helps you avoid backlogs or bottlenecks on your side of things as well.
Well, I'll tell you, we got the hardest working staff in government. I mean, maybe not, but I will say that our pre-market review staff, man, they work overtime in terms of all the submissions we get and all the work they have to put into the technical review of pre-market submissions. And I mean, manufacturers will know we put a lot of work in, and it's a lot of burden on our staff. And there's burden on manufacturers too, because our staff will ask you questions, and then manufacturers, you have to address it.
But we're making it easier.
We want to make it easier for everybody, and selfishly, I want to make it easier for our staff because it means we can get through our reviews more comfortably, a little more quickly, ideally, and get products on the market that patients want access to. And that's what we're all working towards. So we want to do that together in as quick and efficient a way as possible.
You had raised some updates during the symposium, so I'll ask you about those now. What's next for the ASCA program?
So next one, we'll be publishing a final report for our pilot program. So we just recently, last fall, became a permanent program. So we are here to stay, and we will have a final report on how the pilot went, what went right, what went wrong, what went as expected, what are some metrics we can deliver that will be of interest to industry. But beyond that, we're also setting up a workshop April 17th, where it is a virtual workshop. It's not yet announced publicly. It will be announced soon, where we normally announce workshops, where there is a centralized hub for announcing public workshops for FDA. It will be virtual, so it will be easy to attend and easy to have a discussion about where ASCA goes from here. Do we, and part of that discussion will be what went right, what went wrong. Not much has gone wrong so far from what we have seen. So what went right and where can we improve? And part of that will be soliciting input from the public and all of our stakeholders. So
Great.
we want people to say, where do you want us to go? How do you want us to go there? And what do we need in order to make it happen? And that can be new technical areas. It can be all kinds of things. So that'll be a discussion on April 17th at our public workshop.
And the second that we have a link to that discussion, as you said, it hasn't been announced publicly yet, but the second that we do have that link, we'll put it in the description of this video. People will be able to find that way, or just visit the FDA website, right?
Yeah, you could probably Google it, to be perfectly honest. You say FDA ASCA, we'll probably put it on the ASCA website. It's a good website. Go check it out. It's a government website, but it is not terrible, I promise. You can go check it out. There's good information there, and I'm fairly certain we'll be publicizing it there as well and talking about that expansion workshop.
Now, we were talking about one topic that did come up as somebody was asking, is this going to be included in test validation? And that was cybersecurity. That was an interesting thing for someone to bring up. You want to tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so people have suggestions for all kinds of technical areas.
Right.
Where we should expand into. And cybersecurity is certainly one of them. It's a really hot topic. Everybody wants to know how best we can address this in a consistent manner and in an efficient way such that it's not extra burden on FDA staff or manufacturers to make sure we have the safest medical devices on the market. So that is one of the topic areas that is of interest in terms of expanding the program. All of that will be a discussion at that workshop we'll be holding on April 17th, and we've had all kinds of other technical areas come up in that space as well. Sterility is another one that's frequently suggested.
Yes, that makes sense.
Cybersecurity is frequently suggested. Mechanical testing is another one that is often suggested. And so it will be an area of discussion. Each one of those as they come up in conversation at this workshop. It is meant to be interactive, so if you do attend, please bring questions, comments, and suggestions because we want to hear them. That's the whole point. I don't want to just be talking to a void in a virtual workshop format to myself because I can do that every day in the office on our Zoom calls, and I don't really want to do that. So, but yes, so it will be a really hot topic that we'll be discussing on how do we expand ASCA and what would be the best. Yeah.
The one last hard question for you before we wrap this up, because that does raise to me the immediate question of would including any new, topic for testing or subject for testing, does that mean new test labs or reaccrediting old test labs?
So that could be a mixed bag, depending on what each test lab is capable of doing. Because ASCA program is built out of that conformity assessment space, where there are established international standards and conformity assessment frameworks to say, okay, you're accredited to do all this testing, and our recognized accreditation bodies, when they accredit a lab to ISO/IEC 17025, they can also add an ASCA section, and that's kind of conditional that FDA will review when a test lab comes to us. We will basically say, okay, give us all of your documentation. We want to take a look at how you do business, make sure that you're of a high enough quality that we trust the work you're going to do and the results that will be coming out of your lab. And part of those, part of what's currently included in ASCA may not encapsulate everything the lab can do. So there may be crossover in terms of, this lab can do a lot of mechanical testing. Not a lot of it's included in ASCA right now. We're in the 60601-1 and 61010-1 family at the moment, and also ISO 10993 biocompatibility standards. So those are the two families right now, and we are looking to expand because there is growth opportunity and a way that we can make life easier for manufacturers and review staff and patients to get things on the market quicker.
Great.
Yeah.
So last call to action, that April 17th, that discussion, you're looking not just to hear from manufacturers, but also test labs themselves?
Yes, we're inviting everybody. So please, everybody come if you're watching this. Accreditation bodies, sure. Testing labs, sure. And manufacturers and anyone else who wants to attend, who has a vested interest in standardizing certain spaces and streamlining conformity assessment of pre-market review. But part of that workshop will be determining, is there appetite in test labs to do this? We don't want to move into a technical space and then run into a void where no test labs are doing this or no test labs are willing to jump into the space. We want to make sure we're all on the same page going forward and make sure that we can do this together. Yeah.
Doing it together, that's the important part. But Hey, thank you so much for sitting down, kind of walking us through this, explaining it a little bit more. Any other final updates, or are we good to go?
We're pretty good to go. I mean,
Yeah.
go to our website. It's not terrible. It will break it down. There's a separate section for every stakeholder. I'm looking at you over here. So please go check it out. I mean, it is a government website, but it is good. It is not bad. There's good information there. And we will update it with regularity just to make sure the most current information is there.
Beautiful.
So,
Well,
yeah.
thanks so much. It was great talking to you.
Yeah, it was great.
Enjoy the rest of Nexus.
Yeah, you too.